Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast is Stop Using Basic English.
It sounds a bit aggressive right off the bat, doesn't it? Stop using it.
Yeah.
It feels like we're yelling at people.
A little bit, yeah.
But we aren't here to scold anyone. We're here to unlock something that's been jammed shut for a lot of people.
We are definitely staging an intervention, though, let's be honest. A linguistic intervention. Because I was thinking about this on the drive-in, and I realized I am totally guilty of this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, completely. I'm walking around stuck in a loop. You know the feeling. You wake up, someone asks how you are, and you say, I'm good. You see a movie, you tell your friend, it was nice. You eat a meal, it was bad. It's like living on repeat. I feel like an NPC in a video game with only 3 lines of dialogue.
That is exactly the phenomenon we are tackling today. It is what we call the swamp of basic English.
The swamp. That's a vivid image. I like that. Why a swamp?
Because it's sticky. You get knee-deep in it, and it's hard to move. And the tricky thing about this swamp is that it isn't necessarily wrong. If you're in the swamp, you're still moving. You're still communicating.
So you're getting by.
You're getting by. Think of basic English like a reliable, rusty old bicycle.
Okay, I can picture that. It's got a squeaky chain, maybe one of the tires is a bit flat, but the pedals turn.
It functions. It gets you from point A to point B. If you are hungry and you say, I want food, you will get fed. No one is going to starve because of basic English, but that is about all it does. It is purely functional.
Right.
Now, I want you to contrast that old bicycle with a sleek, high-performance sports car.
Okay, now we're talking. Leather seats, turbo engine, top down, wind in your hair.
That sports car is advanced English. It doesn't just get you to the destination. It changes the texture of the travel. It turns a commute into an adventure.
I love that.
It turns a simple statement into a connection. That is our mission today. We want to show you why that old bicycle is holding you back in your career, your relationships, your confidence, and how to trade it in for the sports car.
Oh, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Isn't the golden rule of communication, keep it simple, stupid? You know, the KISS principle. Why do we need the sports car? If the bicycle works, isn't upgrading just vanity? Isn't it just using big words to sound smart?
That is the most common objection I hear, and it's a fair question. But there is a massive difference between strategic simplicity, where you choose a simple word for maximum impact, and involuntary simplicity, where you use a simple word because it's the only one you have.
Ah, okay. That's a key distinction.
Hemingway wrote simply, but he had the keys to the sports car. He just chose to ride the bike that day for effect. Most of us are riding the bike because we don't know how to drive the car. We don't even know the car's in the garage.
That is a crucial distinction. Choice versus limitation. And just to be clear, because I know we have a mix of listeners, this isn't just for students, right? This isn't just for someone cramming for a TOEFL exam.
Not at all. In fact, thinking this is just for students is a huge misconception. This deep dive is for the professional climbing the corporate ladder who feels ignored in meetings. It is for the person trying to navigate the dating scene and wondering why they aren't getting a second date. It is for anyone who loves a good chat but feels like they aren't quite expressing the complexity of who they really are inside.
So in this conversation, we're going to diagnose the problem, look at the hidden costs, which, spoiler alert, are actually kind of terrifying when you list them out, and then give you the keys to the sports car.
That's the plan.
We're going to look at strategies to upgrade your vocabulary, your grammar, and even your wit.
We are going to turn your everyday words into something extraordinary.
Let's start with the diagnosis then. We threw around this term basic English, but let's really nail down what that means. Because when I hear basic, I think of, internet slang for being unoriginal, pumpkin spice lattes, that sort of thing. But we are talking linguistics here.
We are, and it's important to distinguish this from simply being a beginner. Basic English isn't just about not knowing the words. It is a default mode. It is a trap that even native speakers fall into constantly.
Right. It's a comfort zone.
It's a comfort zone that becomes a cage. It's simplified, repetitive, bland language.
Bland is the killer. It's the enemy of connection.
Think of it like fast food.
Okay, I'm hungry again, but go on.
Fast food is quick, it is cheap, it is satisfying in the immediate moment. You grab a burger, you eat it, you are no longer hungry. But does it have nutrition? No. Does it have complex flavor profiles? No. Is it something you savor? Rarely.
It's just fuel.
It's just fuel.
Yeah.
Basic English is the fast food of communication. It is heavy on fillers, short sentences, and a very limited palette of common vocabulary. Good, bad, big, small.
It's efficient, but it's empty calories. There's no nourishment in it.
Let's look at a comparative example to really hear the difference. Let's say you are on vacation. You are standing on a cliff edge, looking out at the ocean, and the sun is going down.
Okay, now.
The basic English version of describing this is, the sunset was nice.
I mean, I've said that 1,000 times. I've probably texted that exact phrase, oh, look, the sunset is nice.
And 5 minutes later, everyone has forgotten you said it. It is forgettable because it is generic. Nice is a beige wall. It's a placeholder word. Now upgrade that. Try this. The sunset painted the sky in hues of crimson and gold, evoking a sense of tranquil wonder.
Okay, wow. That actually makes me feel something. Hues of crimson and gold. It creates a picture in my head. I can almost see the colors. And tranquil wonder, that gives me the emotion.
That is the power of the upgrade. One is a statement of fact. The other is an invitation to share an experience. One is a label. The other is a painting.
But where did this come from? Because it feels like we are almost programmed to speak in this stripped down way. Is it just laziness? Or is there something deeper going on?
There is actually a fascinating historical context here that most people don't know about. We have to go back to the 1920s and a man named Charles K. Ogden.
Ogden. Okay, who was he? And what did he do?
He was a British linguist and a philosopher, and he actually created something officially called Basic English. Capital B, capital E. It was a constructed, controlled language. He stripped English down to just 850 core words.
Wait, 850, that's it. I feel like I use 850 words just ordering coffee. That seems impossibly small.
That's it. And the really wild part, only 18 operator verbs.
18 verbs. How do you even function? You can't run, jump, swim, think, create, build. How do you express any action with only 18 verbs?
You have to combine them in very clunky ways. So instead of disembark, you'd have to say get off. Instead of succeed, you might say make good.
Make good. It sounds like a bad translation.
It was incredibly restrictive. Instead of invent, you'd say make up.
Why would anyone do that? It sounds like a prison for your brain. What was the goal?
You have to remember the context. This was right after World War I. The world was traumatized. There was this huge, desperate desire for global peace and international understanding. Ogden's thinking was, if we can make English easy enough for everyone to learn quickly, we can eliminate miscommunication.
Ah, I see.
It was designed for ease of learning and international utility, a universal second language.
So the intent was noble, world peace through simplified language. It's almost utopian.
It was. But the reality is that when you strip a language down to the studs, you lose the insulation, the decoration, and the warmth. You're left with a functional but cold and awkward structure.
Do we have an example of what Ogden's basic English looks like compared to the real deal?
The classic example that's always used is the Lord's Prayer. Even if you aren't religious, you know the poetry of it. Most people know the traditional line, hallowed be your name.
Right, hallowed. That's a heavy, ancient, reverent word. It feels like you're inside a cathedral just saying it. It has weight.
In Ogden's basic English, that translates to, may your name be kept holy.
May your name be kept holy. It means the same thing, technically, but it feels so different. It's so flat.
It loses the gravity. It loses the cultural weight. Hallowed carries centuries of tradition and awe. Kept holy sounds like instructions for a janitor at a museum. Keep this area clean.
It flattens the divine into a chore. That's a perfect way to put it.
And while we aren't following Ogden's strict 850-word list today, we have inherited the spirit of it. This idea that simpler is always better has seeped into our culture.
So why are we still stuck in the swamp today? Ogden is long gone. What are the modern culprits?
There are a few big ones. First, it's just habit. Think about school. When you were first learning to write, what did teachers emphasize?
Don't make mistakes. Get your spelling right, your punctuation, subject-verb agreement.
Clarity, foundations, subject, verb, object. We're taught to avoid errors, not to paint pictures. We prioritize function over artistry from a very young age. You get an A for grammar, not for beauty or evocative language.
That makes so much sense. You don't want to get red ink on your paper, so you play it safe. You stick to the words you know you can spell, the sentence structures you know are correct.
Exactly. But then you grow up and you encounter the digital age.
Right.
This is a massive factor. Social media, Twitter or X now, with its 280 character limits.
Right.
Texting, emails. Everything in our modern world encourages brevity, speed, and efficiency over depth.
It's true. If I send a text that's 3 paragraphs long describing the sunset, my friend's going to reply with, TLDR, too long, didn't read.
And that pressure to be concise strips away nuance. We grab the low-hanging fruit words. It is so much easier to type good than exceptional. It's faster to type sad than despondent. Laziness plays a role. We are cognitively maximizing efficiency. We are saving brain energy.
It's the path of least resistance. Why hike up the mountain to find a beautiful, rare flower when there's a perfectly acceptable dandelion right at your feet?
And there is one more factor, which is what I call the foreigner crutch. In a globalized world, English is the lingua franca. Non-native speakers often stick to basics to ensure they're understood, which is a very smart and necessary strategy initially.
Of course.
But native speakers subconsciously mirror this. We hear simplified English in pop culture, in advertising, in international business, and our own language begins to homogenize. It starts to get filed down, losing its sharp edges.
So we are all sort of racing to the bottom of the linguistic pool just to make sure we aren't misunderstood. We are trading depth for breadth of understanding.
That is a great way to put it. We are sacrificing depth for breadth. But the problem is, while basic English is safe, it is extremely costly. The hidden costs are staggering.
Let's talk about those costs, because I think people might be listening and thinking, so what? People understand me. Isn't that enough? I get my coffee, I get my paycheck. Why does it matter?
It is enough to survive. It is not enough to thrive. Let's start with personal communication and relationships.
Okay, let's create a scenario here. Let's introduce a character. We'll call him Bob. Bob is stuck deep in the swamp of basic English.
Poor Bob. Okay, let's send Bob on a date.
Bob is on a first date. He's sitting across from someone he really likes, and he's nervous. The waiter brings the food. The date asks, "How is your pasta?" Bob says, "It is good."
Okay, a bit of a dead end.
Then the date tries again. "How was your day?" Bob thinks for a second and says, "I had a busy day."
And the date is looking for the exit. They're checking their watch.
Why? Bob answered the questions. He was being honest.
He went through the facts, but he failed the chemistry test. Conversation is a tennis match. If you just drop the ball over the net with zero spin, the other person has nothing to work with. "It is good" is a dead end. There's no follow-up question.
Right. You can't ask, how good was it?
It kills a rally.
So how does the advanced English version of Bob play out?
Imagine Bob has the sports car keys. The date asks, "How was your day?" Bob smiles and says, "The day's events unfolded like a symphony of serendipitous moments. I ran into an old friend I hadn't seen in years, and we ended up exploring this ancient, dusty bookstore down a side alley."
Whoa. Okay. Symphony of serendipitous moments. That is a lot. But I'm interested. I want to know about the friend. I want to know about the bookstore. What books did you find?
Exactly. It invites curiosity, it opens doors to more conversation, it captures attention. The person using advanced English becomes mysterious, intelligent, and engaging. The person using basic English is just there. They're background noise.
It's about being memorable. Bob number 1 is forgotten by dessert. Bob number 2 gets a second date.
And it is also about conflict resolution.
Yeah.
This is huge in relationships. Basic English is often too blunt, too black and white for delicate situations.
Like saying, "You are wrong."
Right. That is an act of war. It's a verbal slap. If you say "you are wrong" to a partner or a colleague, their defenses go up immediately. It becomes a fight. Or just saying, "I'm sorry."
I was going to say, what's wrong with "I'm sorry"?
Nothing, if you mean it.
Yeah.
But it can feel dismissive. It can be a way to end the conversation, not resolve the conflict. I'm sorry. Okay, can we just drop it?
Yeah, that doesn't fix anything. It sounds like you just want the argument to stop, not that you actually regret what happened.
Now look at the upgraded approach. Instead of "you're wrong," you might say, "I see where you were coming from, but I believe there is a nuance we are overlooking here."
A nuance we are overlooking. I like that. That puts you on the same team. You're looking for the nuance together. It's collaborative, not combative.
And instead of a flat "I'm sorry," you say, "I regret my hasty words," as they stemmed from a place of frustration rather than malice.
Stemmed from a place of frustration rather than malice.
That is beautiful. It explains the why. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but it explains it. It fosters empathy.
It shows you are introspective, that you have self-awareness. Basic English doesn't have the tools for introspection. It only deals with the surface. Advanced English lets you dig into the psychology of the moment. That is a powerful distinction. What about work? The professional battlefield. I feel like this is where the stakes are literally financial. Your words can cost you or earn you money.
100%.
Yeah.
Let's look at Bob's resume now. Bob is applying for a promotion. His resume says, "Worked hard, team player, good at sales."
Responsible for managing people. I've seen that a million times.
It blends into the pile. It is beige wallpaper. Every single resume says team player. It's become a completely meaningless phrase. Now take those same skills and upgrade them. Instead of team player, you write orchestrated cross-functional collaborations to optimize operational efficiency.
Okay, that person is getting hired, or at least an interview. But wait, I have to ask, does that sound like corporate buzzwords? Orchestrated, optimized, synergy. Doesn't that annoy people sometimes?
It absolutely can if you use it incorrectly or without substance to back it up. But if you use it accurately, it signals leadership. It signals that you understand the system you are working in, not just your own little task.
That makes sense.
Think about reporting success. If you just say sales went up, you sound like a passive observer. Oh, look, sales went up. If you say revenue surged by 25% quarter over quarter, propelled by strategic market penetration, you sound like the architect of that success.
Propelled by strategic market penetration. It's active. It has energy. It implies that you made it happen. You weren't just watching the numbers go up.
And negotiation. This is critical. If you use vague, basic language like, I need more time on this project, you sound like you are failing. You sound demanding or incompetent.
Yeah, it sounds like you can't handle the workload.
But if you use precise language, I propose an extension to ensure meticulous completion, a higher quality final deliverable. You sound responsible. You sound strategic. You are protecting the quality of the work.
It changes the power dynamic completely. You aren't asking for a favor. You are making a professional proposal that benefits the company.
Precisely. And this extends to creative and academic fields too. Think about storytelling. We mentioned J.K. Rowling earlier. The reason those books capture the world wasn't just the plot. It was the descriptions. If she had written, Harry entered a big room with floating candles, it's okay. We get the facts. But she describes the Great Hall with magical sensory details that hook the reader and build a world.
Or in school, I remember getting papers back with comments from teachers like, be more specific. And I never knew what that meant. I thought I was being specific.
It means your granularity is too low. If you write, global warming is bad, that is a C- thesis statement.
It's true, but it's basic.
It's a starting point. If you write, anthropogenic climate change poses existential threats to coastal ecosystems and global food security, that is an A. It shows you understand the scale, the cause, and the specific nature of the problem.
And even just expressing your own emotions, I think this is the one that hits closest to home for me. Sometimes you feel something that isn't just sad. It's more complicated than that.
Sad is a bucket. It holds everything from dropping your ice cream cone to losing a loved one. It's too broad to be useful. This touches on the concept of emotional granularity. Research from neuroscientists like Lisa Feldman Barrett shows that people who can specifically name their emotions, who can distinguish between sad, dejected, melancholy, and disappointed, actually regulate their emotions better.
So having the word helps you handle the feeling.
Yes. It's incredible. If you can say, a melancholic fog envelops my spirit, you are validating your own internal experience. You are giving it shape. You are taming the monster by naming it. If you just say, I'm sad, it's this big, vague, scary blob.
It feels like therapy just to say it out loud with that kind of precision.
Language is the tool we use to understand ourselves and the world. If your tools are dull and limited, your self-understanding will be dull and limited. And globally, when we all stick to basic English, we strip away subtext, sarcasm, and rhetorical flair. We end up in this shallow pool of understanding when there's an entire ocean of expression available.
So the costs are high. We are boring dates, we are getting passed over for promotions, we're losing arguments, and we aren't even understanding our own feelings.
It's a grim picture when you lay it out like that.
But luckily, we have the solution. Let's talk about the power of the upgrade. Because I think some people might still be worried that using big words makes them sound pretentious or, even worse, confusing.
That is the paradox of clarity. And this is a really important counterintuitive point. Advanced language is often clearer than basic language.
How so? My brain immediately thinks simple equals clear. The cat sat on the mat. You can't misunderstand that.
True for simple physical actions, but for complex ideas, for emotions, for opinions. Simple often equals vague. If I say, the movie was okay, what does that mean? Did I like it? Did I hate it? Was it boring? Was it just average? It's a blur. It communicates almost nothing.
It's a non-answer, really.
But if I say, the film balances poignant drama with witty banter, though its pacing faltered in the third act, I have given you precise, actionable data. There is no confusion about my opinion.
Right. You've eliminated the guesswork. I know exactly what you think, and I can decide if I want to see it based on that specific feedback.
Advanced vocabulary eliminates vagueness. It allows you to be surgically precise, and it amplifies emotion. I love you is great. It's a classic for a reason. It's powerful.
Can't argue with that.
But imagine hearing this. My affection for you blooms like an eternal spring. unwavering through seasons of joy and trial.
I mean, come on, I'm swooning. That's wedding vow material right there. You remember that forever.
It creates impact. Look at influential figures in any field. Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey. When they speak, they command respect. They don't use $10 words just to show off. They use rhetoric, alliteration, antithesis, anaphora. They craft their language.
Okay, you're dropping some terms there. Give us a quick crash course. We all know alliteration, but what is anaphora?
Anaphora is repeating a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. Think of Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I have a dream" speech. I have a dream, I have a dream. Or Winston Churchill. We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets.
Ah, okay.
That repetition builds rhythm and momentum. It's powerful. It hypnotizes the listener. You simply cannot achieve that level of emotional impact with basic, choppy sentences.
So it's about rhythm and music as much as meaning? It's treating speech like a song.
It is about making your language sing. And when your language sings, people listen.
All right, I'm sold. I want the sports car. I want to leave the bicycle in the ditch. How do we do it? We have broken this down into 3 main strategies. Let's start with strategy 1, building a word arsenal. Vocabulary.
This is the foundation. You cannot drive the sports car if you don't have the fuel, but, and this is the most important part, you cannot just memorize the dictionary. That doesn't work. It's a terrible strategy.
I've tried. I get to Aardvark and Abacus, and then I give up and take a nap.
You need a system. The first approach is the classic word-a-day habit. But there is a rule. You can't just read the word on an app like vocabulary.com or Merriam-Webster and swipe it away. You have to use it.
Immediately. Like, right then.
Immediately. Send a text to a friend using it. Write down in your journal in a new sentence. Say it to your dog. You are looking particularly winsome today, Fido. If you don't use it, you lose it. The brain needs to attach the word to a context to make it stick.
Okay. Use it or lose it. What else? Just one word a day seems slow.
It's about consistency, but you can accelerate it with thematic building. Don't learn random words. Learn words in clusters and groups. Let's take emotions. If you want to upgrade happy, don't just learn ecstatic. Learn jubilant, euphoric, elated, exuberant. Create a palette of happiness.
It's like having more colors of paint. Instead of just blue, you have teal, navy, cerulean, azure. Each one has a slightly different feel.
That's the perfect analogy. If you are sad, swap it for despondent, melancholy, morose, forlorn. Each one paints a different picture of sadness.
What about for work?
Let's do a business theme. Stop saying work together. Say collaborate or synergize. Stop saying big change. Say paradigm shift or transformation. Stop saying make better. Say optimize or enhance.
Paradigm shift. That is a power move in a meeting. But again, you have to know what it means. You can't just throw it around to sound smart.
You absolutely have to know. A paradigm shift is a fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions. It's not just changing the coffee brand in the break room. That's a change. Moving your entire business model from selling products to selling subscriptions. That's a paradigm shift.
Got it. Precision matters.
Which brings us to understanding the nuance and synonyms. This is where a lot of learners get tripped up. A thesaurus is a tool, but it can also be a trap. Slender and skinny basically mean the same thing physically, but slender is a compliment. It's elegant, it's positive. Skinny can be negative. It can imply being unhealthy or frail.
Right. You look slender, gets you a smile. You look skinny, might get you a sandwich because they think you aren't eating enough. The connotation is completely different.
Context is everything. And one of my favorite advanced techniques is digging into roots and prefixes. This is like a language superpower. If you learn that the Latin root bene means good, suddenly you unlock beneficial, benevolent, benefactor, benediction. You get 4 or 5 words for the price of 1.
It's hacking the language. You learn the code instead of trying to memorize every single program.
And etymology. The stories behind words. This makes them so much more memorable. Take the word serendipity. It's such a lovely word for a happy accident or a fortunate discovery. But do you know where it comes from?
I have no idea.
It comes from an old Persian fairy tale called The Three Princes of Serendip. Serendip was an ancient name for Sri Lanka. In the story, these princes were always traveling and making discoveries by accident and sagacity. They were finding things they weren't even looking for. The author Horace Walpole coined the term in 1754 based on that story.
That makes the word feel like a little treasure. Knowing that story makes me want to use it. Our meeting was pure serendipity. It adds another layer to it.
It does. Stories make words stick in your memory.
Okay, so we are building the arsenal. We have the bricks, but having a pile of bricks doesn't mean you can build a house. We need strategy 2, mastering grammar and structure.
This is where we move from the words themselves to how we string them together into beautiful, compelling sentences. Basic English relies heavily on the subject-verb-object straight line. I went to the store. I bought milk.
The classic milk run. It's the first thing you learn in any language. Jane sees the ball is red.
It is boring. It is choppy. It sounds like a robot. To upgrade, you need sentence variety. You need to mix simple, compound, and complex sentences to create a rhythm.
Let's remix the milk run. How do we make buying milk sound epic? Or at least interesting?
Okay, here's an upgraded version. Venturing to the store, I procured a carton of milk. Its coolness, a welcome respite from the sweltering heat.
Okay, let's break that down. First, the vocabulary is better. Venturing, procured, respite, sweltering, great words. But the structure, venturing to the store, that pulls you in right away.
That is a subordinate clause at the beginning. Venturing to the store. It creates suspense. You don't know who is venturing until after the comma. It adds depth. It creates a flow instead of a series of short, sharp shocks.
It's like a camera pan in a movie before you see the actor. It sets the scene.
That's a great way to think about it. What about tense and voice? I feel like most of us live in the simple past. I did this, I ate that, I went there.
It's comfortable, it's safe ground.
Break out of that cage. Use perfect tenses. The difference between I ate and I have eaten is subtle but important. I ate is a finished historical fact that's over. I have eaten implies a current state of satisfaction. It connects the past to the present. I've studied this for years, shows ongoing expertise.
And what about active voice versus passive voice? I hear this all the time from writing coaches. Use active voice, but sometimes I get confused about why it's so important.
Let's use a simple example, passive voice.
Yes.
The window was broken by the boy.
Okay, the focus is on the window.
Active voice. The boy broke the window.
That feels more direct, more action-packed. The boy is doing the action.
Active voice has energy. The subject is the hero or the villain of the sentence. Passive voice is often distancing and weak. Politicians love it. Mistakes were made. Who made them? We don't know. It avoids responsibility. I made a mistake. That takes ownership.
So active voice is also about responsibility and confidence.
Often, yes. And punctuation. I feel like punctuation is the unsung hero of tone and structure.
Most people stick to periods and commas, maybe an exclamation point if they are really excited about something.
But the colon is a spotlight. It says, pay attention to what is coming next. It builds anticipation. I knew there was only one thing to do, run. And the M dash, that long dash, is my absolute favorite punctuation mark.
The M dash is for drama. It's the drama queen of punctuation.
It creates a dramatic pause. It adds flair. It's the linguistic equivalent of a mic drop. He thought he was safe. He was wrong.
Yeah.
That dash does so much emotional work there.
But you have to be careful of common pitfalls, right? There are traps here.
For sure. Subject-verb agreement. The team is, not the team are. In American English, collective nouns are treated as a single unit. The team is winning.
That one always trips people up. The team sounds like a lot of people, so your brain wants to say are, but it's one unit.
And dangling modifiers. This one can be accidentally hilarious. Running late, the bus left without me.
Oh.
The sentence implies the bus was running late.
The bus doesn't care if it's late. The bus just drives.
The correct way would be, because I was running late, the bus left without me. Precision in grammar shows disciplined thinking. It shows you know how the pieces of the language fit together.
Okay, we have the words, we have the structure, now we need the flavor. Strategy 3, the spice. Figurative language and rhetoric. This is the fun part.
This is the difference between a boiled potato and a gourmet meal. The spice. We were talking idioms, metaphors, similes, wit, all the good stuff.
Idioms are tricky because they are so cultural. If I say it's raining cats and dogs to someone learning English, they're going to look out the window expecting poodles to fall from the sky.
They're cultural gems. Kick the bucket, spill the beans, bite the bullet. They paint a picture that literal language can't, and they vary by region. In America, something easy is a piece of cake. In Britain, it's easy as pie.
Both involve dessert, which I appreciate. Maybe it says something about our cultures.
It shows a shared cultural joy in sweets, maybe. Phrasal verbs are another essential tool. Turn up instead of arrive. Put off instead of postpone. Look into instead of investigate. They make your English sound natural and fluid. Using turn up makes you sound like a native. Using arrive can sometimes sound a little too formal or stilted.
And metaphors. This is where poetry meets everyday conversation.
It's all about comparing unlike things to create a new understanding. Her eyes were stars. He has a heart of stone. Or personification, giving human qualities to inanimate objects. The wind whispered secrets through the trees. Or hyperbole, dramatic exaggeration for effect. I'm dying of hunger. You aren't actually dying, but the exaggeration conveys the urgency and the intensity of the feeling.
It adds emotional truth, even if it's not literal truth.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And then there is rhetoric and humor. This is the truly advanced level, understanding the three modes of persuasion from Aristotle. Ethos, your credibility, pathos, appealing to emotion, and logos, appealing to logic. And using puns.
Oh, I love a good pun. The lowest form of humor, but also the best. Time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana.
See, that's linguistic gymnastics. You're playing with the double meaning of flies and like. It shows you are the master of the language, not its servant. Or sarcasm and wit. Think of Oscar Wilde, Mark Twain. They use language to tease, to critique, to shine a light on absurdity. Being able to wield wit shows a mastery of the language that basic English can never, ever achieve.
So we have the strategies. Build the arsenal, master the structure, add the spice. But how do we actually make this part of our lives? We can't just memorize a textbook. We need to move into section 7, immersion and application.
You have to live it. You have to surround yourself with it. First, reading. But not just reading tweets or headlines. You need to read things that challenge you.
What should we be reading? Give us a reading list.
For classic, rich vocabulary, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, they use words you won't hear on TikTok. Countenance, disposition, vexed. For contemporary fiction and nuance, Margaret Atwood, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. They play with structure and voice.
And nonfiction. What if you're not a fiction person?
George Orwell, Joan Didion. They are masters of argument and the clear, powerful sentence. See how they build a case word by word. And high-quality journalism, The New Yorker, The Economist, The Atlantic, they have high editorial standards. They don't dumb it down for the reader.
And don't just let the words wash over you, right? You have to read actively.
Absolutely. Annotate. Keep a vocabulary journal. Highlight words you don't know and look them up. Summarize chapters in your own advanced words. Rewrite a paragraph. How would I say this? Join a book club so you are forced to discuss these complex ideas out loud.
Writing practice seems scary for a lot of people, but necessary.
Stream of consciousness journaling is a great low-pressure way to start. Just let the words flow without judgment. But also, try the email rewrite. This is my favorite practical tip for professionals. Before you hit send on a work email, pause for 30 seconds. Look at it. Can you upgrade one sentence? Can you swap I want for I am eager to pursue?
That's a great micro habit. Just one sentence per email. Over a year, that's thousands of reps. It adds up.
And listening. Don't just listen to pop music. Listen to intelligent podcasts like The Economist or NPR's Fresh Air. Listen to audiobooks. TED Talks are fantastic because they are scripted specifically to be persuasive and clear. And try a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing. Is that following people around and mimicking them?
No, please don't do that. That's stalking, and it's illegal. Shadowing is a language learning technique. You listen to a native speaker, maybe in a podcast or a movie, and you repeat what they say exactly as they say it, almost simultaneously like a shadow. You match their intonation, their pauses, their rhythm, their speed.
What does that do for you?
It trains your mouth muscles and your brain to feel the natural rhythm of advanced English. It's one of the fastest ways to improve your pronunciation and fluency. It bridges that difficult gap between understanding and speaking.
That's really practical. And I assume technology can help us here in the 21st century.
Absolutely. Use an app like Anki for flashcards. It uses spaced repetition, which is scientifically proven to help you remember words long term. Grammarly is a good tool, but don't just accept the changes blindly. Look at why it is correcting you. Is it suggesting a stronger verb? Is it fixing a dangling modifier? Learn from the AI and use AI tools to practice dialogue. You can have a conversation with a chatbot and ask it to use advanced vocabulary and correct your mistakes.
It's like having a tireless practice partner who doesn't judge you for making mistakes.
Exactly. The resources are out there.
We're coming into the home stretch here. I want to talk about Section 8, global nuances, because English isn't just one thing. It's not just the King's English or standard American English. It's a living, breathing global language.
It is a kaleidoscope. World English is a fascinating field. You have British English lift instead of elevator, biscuit instead of cookie. Australian English arvo for afternoon, brekkie for breakfast. Indian English has given us wonderful and unique words like propone.
Propone, I love that word. I've never heard it. It's the opposite of postpone.
Yes, to bring a meeting forward. Let's prepone the meeting to 2 p.m. It is incredibly efficient. We don't have a single word for that in American English. We have to say, can we move the meeting up? We should all steal prepone.
I am officially adopting prepone into my vocabulary starting today.
Recognizing these nuances, and maybe even using them when appropriate, shows you are a global citizen. It shows respect and sophistication. It shows you understand that English belongs to everyone who speaks it.
Let's do a final before and after transformation to really cement this for everyone listening. Let's take Bob one last time. Let's fix his job application email.
Okay, Bob's before email. Hi, I want the job. I have experience.
I mean, it's straight to the point, but it's so dry. It feels like a demand, not a request.
Bob's after email. Dear hiring manager, I am writing to express my enthusiastic interest in the project manager position. I am confident that I can contribute my seasoned expertise to your team, a claim evidenced by my track record of optimizing workflows and increasing team efficiency by 15%.
Seasoned expertise, track record, optimizing workflows. It sounds like money. It sounds like value. That person gets an interview.
And let's fix his storytelling one last time. Before. The man walked to the park. He saw a dog.
Snooze fest. I'm already asleep.
After. Under the brilliant canopy of autumnal leaves, the gentleman ambled toward the verdant park where a playful canine suddenly bounded into view, tail wagging furiously.
Ambled, verdant, bounded. It's a movie scene now. You can see the leaves. You can feel the energy of the dog. You can feel the mood.
And notice the word choices. Canopy instead of trees. Canine instead of dog. Ambled instead of walk. It builds a world.
This has been, I'm going to use an upgraded word, an illuminating conversation. But as we wrap up, we need to touch on some ethical considerations because with great power comes great responsibility, right? We don't want people using these techniques to just manipulate or confuse others.
That is the danger, and it's a critical point. When you master rhetoric and advanced language, you have the power to sway emotions. You have the power to confuse people with jargon. You must consciously avoid that. The goal is connection and clarity, not domination. Use precise language to combat misinformation, not to create it. Use inclusive terms like gender-neutral language to make everyone feel seen.
So the rule is, don't use big words just to make other people feel small.
You've said it perfectly. Use them to lift the conversation, to express complex ideas beautifully, not to gatekeep knowledge. Be a bridge, not a barrier.
So, to recap our journey today, we started with the old, rusty bicycle of basic English. We diagnosed the problem, the fast food nature of it. We looked at the high costs, bad dates, missed promotions, shallow feelings, and we gave you the keys to the sports car. Build your vocabulary arsenal, master your grammar and structure, add the spice of figurative language, and immerse yourself in the world of advanced English.
It is a journey from functionality to artistry. It's about moving from merely surviving in a language to truly thriving in it.
My final question to you, listener, is a provocative one. Think about this today as you go about your life. How different would your life look if your words truly matched the complexity of your thoughts?
If you could say exactly what you mean with all the color and nuance and depth that you feel inside, what doors would open for you? Who would you connect with on a deeper level?
Something to mull over. We hope you start your engine today. Pick just one strategy, learn 5 new words related to your job, rewrite 1 email before you send it.
Start small, but start today. Don't let that beautiful sports car sit in the garage any longer.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, Advanced English Listening Practice topic name is Mindset, Habits, and Learning Psychology in English Language.
It's great to be here. We are really diving into what I like to call the engine room of language learning today.
The engine room, I like that.
Yeah, it's all the machinery that usually gets ignored. We focus on the grammar books, the vocab lists, but this is what actually drives everything.
It really is. And, to get us started, I want to jump straight into this mystery that I think everyone listening has thought about. You look around and there's always that one person. You know the one I mean?
Mm-hmm. The natural.
Exactly. The one who just seems to absorb English. Like they don't even look like they're trying. They're making jokes. They're fluent. It's effortless.
The linguistic genius who was just born with a silver dictionary in their mouth.
That's the one. And then right next to them, you have someone else. And maybe this is you, the listener. You're grinding away. You've got the flashcards, the apps. You're studying for years.
Doing all the right things.
All the right things. But when it comes down to it, the waiter asks for your order,
right,
and you freeze. You just panic. So the big question for our deep dive today is, why? What is the real difference between those two people?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And if you ask most people, they'd say, oh, it's talent. Person A has the language gene and person B just doesn't.
I definitely use that excuse myself. Oh, my brain just isn't wired for languages. It's actually a really comforting thought.
It is. It's comforting because it sort of lets you off the hook. It means it's not your fault.
Yeah.
But here's the reality check, and this is really the core of what we're talking about today.
Okay.
The answer is almost never about innate talent. It is almost entirely about psychology. It's about the software you're running in your head, your mindset, and how you manage the hardware, your brain's actual biology.
So failing to learn English isn't really an IQ problem. It's, a strategy and psychology problem.
That's it in a nutshell. It's your operating system. You can have the most powerful computer in the world, a brilliant brain, but if you're running buggy software, the whole thing just crashes. Today, we're going to debug that software.
Debugging the brain. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's lay out the roadmap. We're going to start with that psychological software you mentioned, the mindset.
And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty neuroscience, how the adult brain actually learns, neuroplasticity.
Right. And then the science of making it all automatic, habit formation. Because knowing what to do is useless if you don't do it consistently.
And finally, we have to talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Emotions, anxiety, fear, and how they can physically, chemically just block your brain from learning anything.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Section 1, the foundation. You said mindset. Now, that word gets thrown around a lot, on Instagram and in business seminars. What do we actually mean here in terms of cognitive science?
We're talking about the work of psychologist Carol Dweck primarily. And her research shows we tend to view our own abilities through one of two specific frameworks, a fixed mindset or a growth mindset.
Okay, so break that down for us. What does a fixed mindset look like for someone learning English?
A fixed mindset is the belief that your abilities like intelligence or your knack for languages are basically set in stone. They're static. It's that little voice inside that says, I'm just bad at languages.
Or the classic one, I'm too old to learn this. I hear that all the time.
All the time. And people really believe it's a biological fact. I'm 40, my brain is hard, it's over.
So what happens when that person makes a mistake?
Well, in a fixed mindset, every single mistake is seen as proof of that core limitation. You use the wrong verb tense and your brain goes, see? Told you. You're just not good at this.
And so you stop trying?
You avoid challenges. You stay quiet in a meeting because you don't want to be exposed as untalented. It becomes a total self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, because you're scared of looking stupid, you don't practice. Because you don't practice, you don't get better. And because you're not getting better, you conclude you have no talent.
It's a vicious closed loop. Now let's flip that. The growth mindset. And this is not just about positive thinking, it's the deep understanding that your ability is something you develop through dedication and hard work.
So it's not that you're good or bad at English.
Exactly. You're just at a certain point on a learning curve. And that changes everything.
Okay, so how does that person, the growth mindset learner, deal with the same mistake, that wrong verb tense?
This is the critical shift. For them, a mistake is not an indictment of their character or their intelligence. It's just data. It's a signpost, a little flag waving at you saying, hey, maybe spend a little more time here. It completely separates your ego from your performance.
I love that. A mistake isn't a judgment on your soul. It's just feedback.
You've hit the nail on the head. It transforms the internal monologue from, I can't do this to, I haven't mastered this yet. That single word yet is so powerful.
But let's be honest, these mindsets are held up by some pretty specific myths. I want to throw some of these common mental barriers at you. Can you deconstruct them for us?
Let's do it.
Okay, first one, the perfection trap. This belief that I have to be perfect before I can even open my mouth.
This one is maybe the single biggest killer of progress. It paralyzes millions of people. They're waiting for some magical day when they'll suddenly be ready to speak.
As if it's a switch that flips.
Right. They treat a conversation like a final exam where the only acceptable score is 100%. But here's the reality check. Communication is messy. Even native speakers stumble over their words.
That is so true. If you actually read a raw transcript of two native English speakers talking, it's a mess.
It's a complete disaster. It's full of ums and ahs and half-finished sentences. So if you're holding yourself to a standard of perfection that native speakers don't even meet, you are setting yourself up for silence. The goal is connection, not perfection.
Okay, next myth. The idea of one correct English.
Oh, this is a big one. This sort of colonial hangover that there's one single pure version of English, usually received pronunciation from the UK or, standard American broadcast English.
And if you sound like you're from Singapore or Nigeria or India, you feel like you're doing it wrong.
Which is just absurd. English is a global language. It belongs to the world now. An accent isn't an error. It's a variety, a marker of your identity. As long as people can understand you, you're speaking valid English.
That leads right into the grammar first myth. The idea that you have to swallow the entire rule book before you can even play the game.
Yeah, that one completely reverses the natural order of how humans learn. I mean, think about a 2-year-old child. Do they study a textbook on subject-verb agreement before they say, I want milk?
No, they just start screaming, milk.
Exactly. They learn patterns through exposure and use. The rules come way later, just to give a name to the patterns they already intuitively know. We adults try to hack the code before we even heard the music.
All right, one last one before we move on. The immersion myth. The belief that I can't possibly learn unless I move to London or New York.
The ultimate excuse. Well, I live in a non-English speaking country, so it's impossible for me. Total myth.
Mm-hmm.
Your geography is not your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who live in the heart of the U.S. and barely speak English because they just stay in their little language bubble. And I know people in rural villages in Asia who are C2 level fluent because they curate their digital environment.
So it's about the quality of your engagement, not your GPS coordinates.
100%. If your phone, your music, your movies, your news are in English, you are immersed.
Okay, that is a fantastic foundation. So we need a growth mindset. We need to kill these toxic myths. But let's look under the hood. You mentioned the hardware. What's actually going on in the brain? This brings us to section 2, the neuroscience of learning.
The big headline here is one word: neuroplasticity.
A word we hear a lot. What does it actually mean? That the brain is like plastic?
Basically, yeah. It means the brain is malleable. It can be shaped. For a long, long time, scientists thought that after a certain age in childhood, the brain just sort of hardened like concrete.
A critical window?
Right. And once it closed, you were done. We now know that's completely false. The brain can reorganize itself. It can form new connections. It can physically change its structure at any age.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate. It does feel harder to learn as an adult than it did when I was 6. If my brain is still plastic, why is it such a struggle?
It's a different kind of struggle. Sure, kids have advantages in what's called implicit learning. They just absorb sounds and mimic accents without overthinking it. But adults, we have massive advantages we tend to completely ignore.
Like what?
Metacognition, for one. We can think about our own thinking. We have huge existing frameworks of knowledge. We're not starting from scratch.
That's a good point.
A child has to learn the concept of justice for the first time. You already know what justice is. You just need to learn the English label for it. You're connecting new wires to old ones.
So we have a better strategy, even if our raw absorption speed is a bit different.
A much more sophisticated strategy. And a huge part of this is pattern recognition. Your brain is, at its core, a statistical engine. It's constantly subconsciously predicting what comes next.
Give me an example of that in language learning.
Okay, take a simple phrase like, I am going to. You don't consciously sit there and study the rule that this indicates a future intention every single time you hear it.
No, of course not.
You just hear it thousands and thousands of times in context. Your brain's pattern machine kicks in and it just predicts, oh, okay, when I hear this sound cluster, an action in the future usually follows. You internalize the pattern without the rule.
So you need to feed the pattern machine. You need the data.
You have to feed the machine. This is the difference between explicit study learning rules and implicit learning, just getting tons of exposure. You really need both, but you can't skip the exposure part.
Now, there was one piece of research in our notes that honestly blew my mind. It was about sleep.
Ah, yes, the sleep connection. Very cool stuff.
We think of sleep as downtime, a break from learning, but you're saying we're actually learning while we sleep.
We absolutely are. It's fascinating. During REM sleep and deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain is incredibly active. It's doing something called consolidation.
Consolidation.
It's taking the fragile, short-term memories from the day, from your hippocampus, and transferring them to your neocortex for stable, long-term storage.
It's like moving a file from your computer's RAM to the hard drive.
That is the perfect analogy. And get this. Your brain literally replays the neural firing patterns of what you learned that day. It's like it's practicing while you dream.
Oh, kidding.
No. There was a study where they played audio of vocabulary words to learners while they were asleep, words they had studied earlier, and their retention was significantly better than the group that didn't get the audio cues.
So if I study for hours and then pull an all-nighter to study even more, I'm actually sabotaging myself.
You are actively destroying your own progress. It's like typing up a whole document and then just shutting the computer down without hitting save. Sleep isn't a break from the work. Sleep is the work.
That's a massive takeaway. Don't cram. And speaking of not cramming, that brings us to the spacing effect.
Yes, this is one of the most solid, robust findings in all of cognitive psychology. If you have 6 hours to study, 6 one-hour sessions spread across a week are infinitely more effective than one 6-hour marathon session.
And why is that? Is it just that we get tired and lose focus?
That's part of it, but the real reason is about the effort of retrieval. When you cram, the information is fresh in your short-term memory. It's easy to access. But when you wait a day, you start to forget it a little bit.
Right.
So when you try to recall it, your brain has to work harder. It has to struggle to find that neural pathway again.
And that struggle is a good thing.
The struggle is the entire point. That effort, that retrieval practice, signals to your brain, hey, this piece of information is important. Strengthen this connection. Rereading feels easy, but the struggle to remember is where the real learning happens.
Okay, so we've got the mindset. We understand the brain's hardware. But knowing how to learn is very different from actually doing it. This brings us to section 3, building atomic habits.
Ah, yes, the knowledge-action gap. The graveyard of all good intentions.
So let's break down the habit loop. What are the core components?
Every habit, good or bad, follows a simple 3-step loop. Cue, routine, reward. If you want to build a consistent English habit, you have to consciously design this loop. You can't just rely on willpower.
Because willpower is finite. It runs out.
It's a battery that drains. Habits are automatic. They don't require willpower.
So let's build a loop for someone listening right now. What's a good cue?
A cue has to be obvious and specific. I'll study English tomorrow is a wish, not a plan. It's too vague. A good cue is after I pour my morning coffee. Ah, so you're stacking it onto an existing habit.
Exactly. The coffee is the cue. You're anchoring the new habit to something you already do automatically.
Okay, I've poured my coffee. That's the cue. Now for the routine.
And this is where everybody goes wrong. They make the routine way too big. They say, I will study for 1 hour. That's intimidating. On a busy day, you'll just skip it. The key is to make the routine absurdly, laughably small.
How small are we talking?
Read 1 sentence in English.
1 sentence. Come on, that feels like nothing. You can't learn a language by reading 1 sentence a day.
It feels like nothing, and that's precisely the point. It's so small you can't possibly say no to it. It overcomes that initial inertia, which is the hardest part. But here's the magic. Once you sit down and read that 1 sentence, are you really going to stop? Probably not. You'll read a paragraph, maybe a whole page. The goal of the tiny habit isn't the 1 sentence itself. It's the habit of showing up.
You're just trying to automate the action of starting. Yes, you cannot optimize a habit that doesn't exist. So establish it first, then you can expand it later.
Okay, so cue, routine. What about the reward?
The brain needs a little dopamine hit right away to close the loop and say, hey, that was good, let's do it again. It can be intrinsic, just the feeling of satisfaction, I understood that. Or it can be a small, tangible treat, but it needs to be immediate.
There's another layer to this in our notes that I found really profound. The idea of identity-based habits.
This is moving from focusing on what you want to achieve to focusing on who you want to be.
Can you give us an example of that?
Instead of a goal-based approach like, I am trying to learn English, you adopt an identity. I am an English learner.
That feels like a subtle shift in words, but a huge shift in mindset.
It's massive because it changes how you make dozens of small decisions every day. If you identify as a runner, you go for a run even when it's raining because, well, that's what runners do. If you identify as an English learner and you have 5 minutes waiting for the bus, you ask yourself, what would an English learner do right now? And you open a podcast instead of scrolling Instagram. Your identity guides your actions.
That's powerful. Let's also touch on environmental design. This is about making the good habit the easy, lazy option, right?
It's all about friction. We are wired to follow the path of least resistance. If your English textbook is buried under a pile of papers in a drawer, that's high friction. You won't do it.
But if it's sitting on your pillow?
Zero friction.
Yeah.
You have to literally trip over it, change the language settings on your phone, put the flashcard app on your home screen, and move the social media apps into a folder on the third page.
Increase the friction for bad habits, decrease it for good ones.
Design your life so that learning English becomes the inevitable outcome of your environment. Don't fight your laziness, weaponize it.
I love that. Okay, so let's move into section 4. We've built the habits. Now, what should we actually be doing with the language? Let's talk about input, output, and interaction.
This has to start with the concept of comprehensible input.
And the magic formula for that is I+1. Can you explain that?
So I represents your current level of English. If the input you're getting is just at level I stuff you already understand perfectly, you're comfortable, but you're not learning, you're just reviewing. If the input is at I+10, like you're a beginner watching a university physics lecture, it's just noise. You get overwhelmed and learn nothing.
The Goldilocks zone.
Exactly. You need I+1. The material should be just slightly above your current level. You should understand maybe 70 to 80% of it, and your brain has to stretch and use context to figure out the rest. That stretch is where acquisition happens.
But just listening and reading isn't enough, is it? We also need output.
This is critical. This is the output hypothesis. Listening and reading give you semantic understanding. You get the gist, the general meaning. You can understand a conversation without actually knowing how to construct those sentences yourself.
That describes so many learners. I understand everything, but I can't speak.
Because speaking forces you to engage in syntactic processing. You have to become the architect. You have to choose the right words, conjugate the verb, get the word order right. Speaking immediately highlights what you don't know.
So the pain and struggle of trying to speak is actually just the feeling of locating the gaps in your knowledge.
That's a brilliant way to put it. And that leads us to interaction, which combines everything. You get input from the other person, you produce output, and crucially, you get real-time feedback.
The high-speed loop.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If I say something and you look confused, that's immediate feedback. I have to rephrase. I have to negotiate the meaning with you. That cycle of trial, error, clarification, and adjustment is the most powerful form of learning there is.
But interaction is terrifying for so many people. Which brings us perfectly to section 5. Managing emotions.
Yeah.
Because the idea of negotiating meaning in real time sounds like an absolute nightmare to them.
And this is where we have to talk about the affective filter.
Okay, paint a picture of that for us.
Imagine a kind of wall or a shield between the outside world and the language acquiring part of your brain. When you are anxious or bored or you lack confidence, that wall goes up. The filter is high. You could be in the best English class in the world with the best teacher, but if that filter is up, the input just bounces off. It never gets in. It never reaches the part of your brain that learns language.
So if I'm stressed about making a mistake or I feel stupid, I am physically incapable of absorbing the lesson.
Literally. Your brain switches into fight or flight mode. It's flooded with stress hormones like cortisol. It's prioritizing survival, not grammar acquisition. For learning to happen, that filter has to be low. You need to feel relaxed, curious, and confident.
So how do we lower it? Let's talk about language anxiety specifically. The sweaty palms, the racing heart, the mind just going completely blank.
First, we have to normalize it. It's a real physiological response, but we can learn to reframe it. When your heart starts racing, your brain automatically interprets that as fear. But chemically, excitement and fear are incredibly similar. You can consciously say to yourself, my heart isn't racing because I'm scared. It's racing because I'm excited. I'm ready to perform.
So you're telling yourself, I'm not scared, I'm just amped up.
It sounds a bit silly, but it can genuinely change the brain's chemical interpretation. Another key strategy is gradual exposure. Don't start by trying to give a public speech in English.
Right.
Start by just talking to yourself in the shower. Then record yourself on your phone. Then talk to a very safe, trusted partner who won't judge you. You build up your tolerance.
And self-compassion has to be a big part of this too.
Oh, absolutely. You have to treat yourself like you would treat a good friend. If your friend made a grammar mistake, would you scream at them and call them an idiot?
I certainly hope not.
Then don't do it to yourself. That harsh inner critic just jacks up the affective filter and blocks all learning.
There's another point in the notes about emotion acting as memory glue. What's that about?
It's the idea that we remember things much more vividly when they have an emotional charge. This is why you can remember the lyrics to a song you loved as a teenager, but you can't remember a chapter from a dry textbook you read yesterday.
So we should be learning English through things we actually love.
Connect it to your passions. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you love video games, play them in English. That emotional engagement, that joy or excitement, acts as a fixative for the memory. Boredom is the enemy of learning.
Okay, we're heading into our final section now. Section 6. Overcoming challenges and playing the long game. Because this isn't a sprint.
It's a marathon. And to run a marathon well, you need metacognition.
Which is thinking about your thinking. We touched on this earlier.
Yes. The most successful learners are self-managers. They're constantly self-monitoring. They ask themselves, did I really understand that, or did my mind just drift off? They evaluate their own strategies. Is this flashcard app actually working for me, or am I just mindlessly swiping?
They take ownership of the process. But what happens when you hit a plateau? That awful feeling when you've been working so hard for months, but you feel like you're not getting any better at all? It's so demoralizing.
Plateaus are not just common, they're inevitable, but they're usually misunderstood. We think progress should be this nice, steady, linear climb. But real learning is what's called punctuated equilibrium.
Punctuated equilibrium. Sounds fancy.
It just means you have long, flat periods where it feels like nothing is happening, and then you have a sudden jump in ability. During those flat periods, your brain is consolidating, it's reorganizing the files, you are getting better. It's just not visible on the surface yet.
So a plateau isn't a dead end. It's more like a loading bar.
It's a loading bar. And you also have to remember, advanced gains are just harder to see than beginner gains. Going from 0 words to 10 words is an infinite increase. Going from 10,000 words to 10,010 feels like nothing.
So what's the solution if you feel really truly stuck?
Shock the system. Change your method completely. If you've only been doing input, switch to 100% output for a week. If you've been studying formal grammar, go learn some casual street slang. Your brain adapts to routines, so you need to give it a new, novel challenge to spark that neuroplasticity again.
Let's talk about the tension between accuracy and fluency, the battle between trying to be correct versus trying to be smooth.
You can't really do both well at the same time, especially early on. It's just too much cognitive load. The best strategy is to oscillate your focus.
What do you mean? Like have messy days and strict days?
That's a perfect way to put it. Have some sessions where your only goal is flow. Don't stop, don't self-correct, just talk and get the ideas out no matter how messy. Then have other sessions, maybe when you're writing, where your focus is 100% on precision. But don't let the quest for accuracy paralyze your fluency in a live conversation.
We've touched on motivation, but let's dig into intrinsic versus extrinsic.
Right. Extrinsic motivation is things like, I need to pass this exam, or I need English for a job. It's great for getting you started. It's a powerful kick, but it has a shelf life.
Right.
It burns out.
And intrinsic.
Intrinsic motivation is learning for the love of it. I love this music. I find this culture fascinating. I just enjoy the challenge. That's the fuel that will keep you going for years. It's sustainable.
So to wrap this all up, to bring everything we've discussed together, what's the summary for our listener?
I think it comes down to this. It is not about talent. It's about cultivating a growth mindset, believing you can improve.
Right. And it's about working with your brain's hardware, not against it, sleeping, spacing out your practice.
Building tiny atomic habits so that consistency becomes automatic and doesn't rely on your limited willpower.
And managing your emotions, lowering that affective filter so the language can actually get in.
And finally, playing the long game. The power is completely in your hands. You can design your own environment. You can reshape your own identity. You are not a victim of a lack of talent.
That is an incredibly empowering place to end. Before we sign off, do you have one final thought for our listeners to take away with them?
I do. I'd like to suggest that learning English, or any language, isn't just about acquiring a new skill, like learning to use a software program. You are literally rewiring your brain. You're building new neural pathways. You're expanding your identity to include new perspectives, new ways of expressing yourself. You are becoming a slightly different, more complex, more interesting version of yourself. And that is a profound journey. It's a transformation that is absolutely worthy of your patience and your self-compassion.
A more complex version of yourself. I love that. Thank you so much for this incredible deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And before we go, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really helps us out.
Thanks for listening.